Hi, it's Chloe from Queen of Arcs, and this is How to Kato Polyclay. I was looking for something that was a very lightweight. I found that layering with polymer clay, and because my items that I make are small, medium size items, they were really quite heavy, and that's something that I didn't think about. I'd always been experimenting with small items of polymer clay, layering them and that sort of thing. So this is wearable art that I'm making. I don't want anything that's wearable on a person's face to be weighed down and then therefore leaving marks on their skin. I decided to do my own challenge. After doing Inktober, I was really inspired to do my own challenge, and I call it 15 Days of Holly. In prepping the work surface, I found a baking sheet that was a silicone baking sheet, and as you can see, when you're using fast cast, it just peels off. It's a great surface to work with. It just peels off. I can use my wax on it, and I'm quite happy with that. The other thing that I'm using in conjunction with this process is good old handy wipes that have been dried out overnight. Now, the thing about these handy wipes is that they are actually a polyester polymer mix with some other items like cotton and that sort of thing. So what I did was I took some scrap polymer clay, rolled it out onto a wax sheet, as you can see. So it's polymer clay underneath and wax on top, and I basically rolled the sheet. You see there, I rolled the sheet, flattened it into the other side of the polymer clay. So I've got wax on one side, I've got the sheet of handy wipes or wet wipes, dried wet wipes, and you can see that when it's difficult to pull apart. Here I don't know if I can show you here, but I'll try to get close up. See that it's like right in there, all the fibers and everything are squished in there. I actually rolled out the polymer clay on, I think it was I started all the way through from my highest setting all the way through to 6, and then back to 5, and then rolled the sheet into the polymer clay. Now, returning to paper cutting, I drew my holly as a pattern. I doubled it so that I could cut 2. So you've got a front and a back, and you'll see what I do with with the pattern of the holly. You can see the pattern. You've got the holly, all the little berries. You're going to cut all of those berries out, and then you're also going to cut the leaves of the holly, separate those as well. So you're separating the leaves and then each of the berries. But the first thing to do is we're going to cut it in its entirety, a front and a back, from the polymer clay back, the batten-backed polymer clay sheet that I made. Next thing that you need to do is you need to have the colors that you're going to be, polymer clay colors that you're going to be used to make the holly. I passed it through the pasta machine. The green here is actually very thin. It's if you can see it here, it's about like a 5 or a 6. So I've done a little sheet of green, and then I also did, with the same thinness, a sheet of red. So here you see the red, again, very, very thin. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it, sandwich it between some paper, laser paper, and it's going to go into the oven, and we're flattening it out. The great thing is that I only put everything in the oven between stages, 15 minutes at a time. This is Kato Polyclay, so 15 minutes at a time on 300. I never pass over the 300. I found that this was a successful way to go in this process. So right now I've got the green and the red flattened in the oven at 300. It's going in for 15 minutes, so now I'm going to cut my front and back shape, and we're going to layer in between the two parts. We're going to layer in some fast cast, but I'll show you how I did it. So here's the back. I'm going to cut that out, and we'll be right back. So as you can see, I have cut two, and what I did was, to begin with, is that I took some fast cast resin and I applied the fast cast onto the batten portion of that polymer clay, batten backed polymer clay from my scrap clay. Fast cast, by the way, it heats up to, and I did use the thermometer to check it out. It heats up to 120 plus degrees. So 120, I think it was like 122 degrees Fahrenheit when it's curing. So what that's actually doing to the raw clay underneath it is that it's sort of pre-cooking it a little bit. So here you can see that it's not quite, because it's such a small sort of thin layer of fast cast, it is still a little bit on the sticky side. So this is a great brush to use. Again, it's silicone, and it's great to use with fast cast because then at the end you can just pull it all off after it finishes. Fantastic, and reuse the brush again. So you've got fast cast on the back of the batten portion of both the front and the back. It's still a little on the sticky side, so I'm going to mix up just a capful of part A of the fast cast and a capful of part B. Mix those two together, and then I'm going to take my silicone brush and I'm just going to apply it to both sides, the front and the back portion of this pattern. So you see here I'm applying it. Then, because it kicks really quickly, I think you have like a few minutes, like 30 seconds it starts to go. I'm going to put the patterns on top of each other, and it's not going to be sticky like just yet, but eventually, I think within the next, by 45 seconds, it becomes like a sticky sort of honey adhesive. And there I'm putting them together and I'm pushing them into each other because it's not quite even. So it's not like a leveling resin. It sort of dries and clumps a little bit. So pushing them in, and I've got the wax paper still on the raw polymer clay on both the front and the back patterns. And then what I'll do is I'll take something a little bit on the heavy side, like I've got this like a round ceramic sort of plate, and I'm going to put that on top of the sandwich, and just to make sure that it stays sort of static. and it adheres together. So I bring back my pattern because the polymer clay green and red have come out of the oven. You can see that it's a direct duplicate. But look how, it's very light, and you've got the raw polymer clay still covered by the wax paper. It's really tough. See, like I can hardly sort of move it. Like, it's a little bendy right now because it hasn't cured completely. It takes about, I would say, about a half hour. But I'm going to cut the red berries out, and I'm going to cut the leaves out of the green. And what we're going to do is we're going to take off, remove the paper, the wax paper from the raw polymer clay of our sandwich that we made. So it does, sometimes it gets stuck a little bit, but yeah, I mean, it's very easy to come off, and you can just see that the polymer clay portion of the little fast cast sandwich that we created is still sticky. Like it's not hard or cured all the way through. So you can just peel the wax paper right off, and it's again still sticky. And see, you can see the fast cast in between. It's all hardened now, all the way around, and there's a little bit of gap, but we're gonna fix that eventually once we get everything put together. You'll see coming up. So I went away, I cut all the berries out, you can see them there. Now, unfortunately, I didn't frame this as nicely as I would have liked, but basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press those thin sheets, right? Again, we're using the paper cutting technique, paper layering, where you take thin sheets of paper. Well, what I did instead was I took thin sheets of polymer clay. Again, I only put it in for 15 minutes at 300, right? I didn't want it to be completely cured. I just wanted it to be sort of pre-baked a little bit. Not pre-cured, pre-baked. So just baked a little bit. Enough that I could cut the berries out without them falling apart, and then also because of the jagged edges of the leaves. So all I'm doing is I'm taking them and I'm pressing them into the raw polymer clay that's on our base. On the other side is also raw polymer clay, but this is the front. And yeah, you just take your bits, take my berries, put them on the raw. I'm so proud of this. I have to say, I am so very, very proud of this process. I knew that I'm probably going to have some pushback or some questions or some curiosity as to the next step, which is going to be putting the entire sandwich with all the polymer clay into the oven. So yes, let's discuss that. Okay, you can put cured, okay, you can put cured polyurethane resin in the oven at low temperatures. Yeah, so low temperatures, at a low temperature is 300. The burn point of polyurethane, by the way, is something like, I think I looked it up and I'll have to look it up again, but it's over 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So you don't have to worry about that, especially as it is actually sandwiched and covered between polymer clay, and I'm going to be sandwiching the whole entire piece between laser paper and weighing it down with a layer of like my round ceramic plate. So it's going to be very well insulated against heat, and I would never ever advise that you put just regular liquid resin of any sort in an oven or near an open flame. So here we just added a few added touches of black snake type polymer clay, and again, this was just a sort of warm up to my new process, to what I'm actually going to end up making. But I'm just basically playing around and seeing how quickly things can be done, and taking my time and learning, how to be just calm and relaxed, not just trying to get a thing done. And you can see that with all these finishing touches, I think this is probably the one piece that I've actually done and put a little bit of a finishing touch on. And once everything is all put together, then you can see that, it will be going into the oven, and I'll show you the finished product. So here you are. This is day 1 of 15 days of holly. And what I did to the back of the other side is I just put a little bit of black clay on it, and played with like an effect with some metallic pan pastel, just to see what it would look like. But there you go, day 1 of 15 days of holly.